And where were you in Foy? What did you do?
I was in charge of the 2nd platoon
Okay.
as platoon leader, and
So first went down. First
The,
platoon went down
no,
first, right?
the- but I was sent west of Foy, and to loop around and to come in from the west side, which I did, and I got up to a gated area, not a gated area, but a rock wall area, looking down into Foy, probably 250 yards away or so, and as I was standing down there looking for a machine gun target or something, and I had called a mortar gunner up alongside me, and I don't even know what his name was because they were added to the group that I had because the 2nd platoon was gone, just about gone, and so as we were standing there looking down into Foy, a German machine gun whipped off and got this guy 5 or 6 shots through the chest, and no medics that you could get near him. You could see out in the orchard area ahead of us, Eugene Rowe running all over hell in the snow of the orchard, treating guys that were down, and so there were no aid for the guy at all, and he just died of quite quickly from the wounds. Then from then on, we got into the western side of the town, and as I got right pressed into the last building that I had to get around by, I had some of these guys in front of me, and around to the side, and so I sent a corporal and 3 or 4 guys around the side of the building, on the right side of a building, and then I told the guy behind me, I said, you cover me while I run out into this open area, and he said, Sergeant, you're in charge of this outfit, you're not supposed to be running into anything, and he said, I'll go, and he stuck his neck out there and was killed just like that. And then I jumped out with a Tommy gun, and the young German was in a window, an open window area in another farm building, and still standing with his gun, and I killed him with my Tommy gun from there, and then that really the ended it for the Foy, and so then I went into the last other building that was there, and there had been a lot of wounded guys that had been taken in there, and so I ran in to see if there were any more Germans around, and they said no, they're all either dead or wounded or surrendered or wherever. And then while I'm standing there, I run out and back out, and I run into an officer named Gene Brown that I'd known at the University of Oregon, but I hadn't seen him since before the war, really.
It's just amazing that you would run into these people in such different circumstances.
Yeah. And anyway, when I first met this Gene Brown, at the time then he was a captain. He'd been in a line company for about a week, and then was transferred out of it to a regimental staff. So he hadn't been a combat officer, but he'd been assigned to another company, and that was called in support of E Company as they made that attack and got hit bad, and so he was in the middle of Foy, as I was in that little town, and I came out of that last building and ran right into him. He reprimanded me when I first saw him, the very first night that I was in Toccoa, Georgia, and when I went to get my mess kit washed and inspected, I looked up and he was the officer in charge, and I said, "Hi, Gene, how are you?" And he looked at me kind of funny, and he said, "Well, hi, Don." And then about 3 weeks later, I got the first 3 or 4 hour pass that I could get to go into downtown Toccoa. And so there were 3 or 4 of us went together. Skip was one of them, I'm sure. And as we were walking along in a little one-horse town of Toccoa, we run into this group of officers, and this Gene Brown was in the group. And I saluted him, and I said, "Hi, Gene, how are you?" And so I walked past him, and he said, "Soldier, I want to talk to you a minute." So I turned around and I went with him, and he took me in a store building, closed up store building, and he said, "Don," he said, "this is the Army. You can't be addressing me as you have been, and if you continue to do that, you'll disrupt me from any possibility of making myself ahead in this outfit. So you got to quit doing that." And he said, "This is the Army." Well, I had flunked ROTC at Oregon, so it was no surprise to me that that I didn't know the regulations at all. But anyway, just by the same coincidence, we served in the same battalion the entire war. But I never saw him again until that day in Foy.
Wow.
And but after that, we were like, I never had to salute him or do a damn thing. And so when the war ended and I was in France, I stayed with Buck Compton. And while I was sitting in Buck's office, as I had moved into Paris, and Buck said, you come and live with me, in my apartment on the Seine, which I did. And so anyway, I'm sitting in there, and it wasn't the same day, but I think it was the next day, another officer came walking in to see Buck, and it was Gene Brown. And so I said, "Hi, how are you?" And from that point on, I never had to say sir or yes sir or sir or what sir. But he said, "I want to take you and Buck to dinner tonight." And so he'd made a lot of money gambling in the company with the regimental commander, Sink. Sink had command performance gambling games at his headquarters, and Gene Brown would always be invited, and he was a competitive bridge player, and so they gambled on everything, and he won a lot of money. And so anyway, he wanted to take, "I want to take you and Buck to dinner tonight." So we met him at a low-level cafe along the Champs-Élysées, and went in there and had dinner. And in the course of dinner, we did a lot of yak and stuff like that. And so then when we get out of dinner, we're standing up on the Champs-Élysées, and Gene says, "I want to buy you two guys a girl."
You don't be embarrassed.
So Buck said no thanks, and I said no thanks, and so that was the end of that. But he had a lot of money that he could have spent, and he wanted to do something nice to us.
Yeah, I was trying to get you to not say that, but yeah.
Come on.
Say what?
I'm just teasing you.
It's an okay story.
Yeah.
I like it.
There wasn't anything wrong with that, for God's sake.
They said no.
The girls in Paris were professionals, licensed professionals.
Oh, that makes a difference.
Well, it does with them,
That was their job.
Okay.
There's nothing illegal about it over there.
Of course not.
No, they make a lot of money.
Maybe
Do I
that's
push
what
the red button to turn it off?
Actually, yes. Maybe that's
Bye,
what I should-
Don.